to be the man, you gotta beat the man right here.
Is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Nobody is on my level. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
Here we are, the Wrestling is Real podcast, with a whole bunch of stuff to go ahead and talk about tonight. First of all, WrestleMania 39, day one, or night one, from Los Angeles, or Hollywood. Then, I also have to go ahead and take care of some ground real quickly, make some thoughts about NXT Stand and Deliver, and Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor, and Multiverse United, Only the Strong Survive. Those are the 4 shows I caught up on upon doing the program tonight. With things going on as they were, wasn't enough time for me to go ahead and cover everything between this past Wednesday night, going into Thursday, catching both those shows on Thursday and Friday to go ahead and cover them on a post show. It just wasn't enough time, especially when you're also talking about those shows being run late, East Coast time for me. I just wasn't able to get it done. Like I went and saw Dungeons and Dragons yesterday, so that's what I did as well. Plus, I also had to go and catch FAU, Florida Atlantic University, in the Final Four, and unfortunately, due to a last-second shot, FAU has been eliminated from the NCAA college basketball tournament, so they will not play for the championship, and that's it. But they had a great run. I'll give them that. Anyway, we got all this to cover, and we're going to get into it right now. If you get a chance, take a look at the newly redesigned. I did it again. What can I say? WrestlingIsReal.com. If you want, right there on the website, you can actually go and look at the video, the YouTube feed for the program with the latest episodes, but also up front and center, I have the Apple Podcast feed. And I hope all of you will take advantage. If you haven't already subscribed to the show yet, please do, because then it would really help me a lot to get to that point, and then I can say, okay, then what I can do is hopefully the numbers go up and more people will go ahead and catch on to it. And then what will happen is, more than ever, I will get more people to go ahead and catch the show and subscribe to it. However you find podcasts. Let's start with Apple. Then there's Amazon, Google, Spotify, and others. So I did the website again, put it out there, and I hope you will check it out for yourselves and let me know what you think. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and move along into the shows itself. I'm going to go right to WrestleMania first. I know other people might go the other way around, but we're not going to go in chronological order. No. So off the bat, Austin Theory over John Cena for the U.S. title. Which, with John Cena now, it doesn't feel as special for him to come out there and do the matches, because he can only be so invested in doing this. And honestly, if he's not the role that he normally is now, don't get me wrong, he does great work. The Make-A-Wish stuff at the start for his appearance was great. He knows his role to go ahead and let Austin Theory get an upper hand on John Cena, which is the whole idea of that. That was one of the things that was being done with the NXT Stand and Deliver show, was trying to go ahead and get stars over and, give them the one-up to go and move forward. Meanwhile, a couple of their stars as champions stepped aside, which only tells me maybe down the line we're going to actually see them at the Raw after WrestleMania. So with that, then the fatal 4-way showcase tag team match without any stipulations at all. Didn't matter to me much at all, but look, Street Profits win again. This is a match that could have been on Raw as like a main event, something like that. Or just like at a 9 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock hour, whatever. But they put this here. It's just the match that you already knew. All these tag teams, they wanted to bring them in. So they put them in this match here, and then the women are going to get a chance to do the same thing tomorrow, right? Okay, sure, that's fine. But then, doesn't matter. We get into the next match, Seth Freakin Rollins against Logan Paul. This match was good for what they tried to do, because they definitely went for what was viral in this match. So the song, singing along to Seth Rollins' theme, and using the conductor and using, the voice choir to do that. That's cool. Logan Paul using targeted advertising for his Prime Energy drink, and having KSI in his corner, which I guarantee you 99% of the wrestling base of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, they probably don't even know who KSI is. I understand that because, the wrestling podcast brethren that I know of, they probably don't go on much onto YouTube, look at other channels that are outside of not wrestling, right? And I know because I do follow stuff in the UK when it comes to television, when it comes to movies. Well, not the movies, but when it comes to music. And so I know KSI because he's put out a lot of songs that are very popular. And the fact that I know his relationship with Logan Paul is because they fought each other, right? Or was it Jake that fought him? So KSI is part of this. And KSI in his own right, he's an international star, but it's one of those things where he's not recognized outside in the U.S. itself. He's just not. He's a British YouTuber, but he's doing very well with television, with his own content creation. He's doing very well with music, and he's an internet celebrity. He also is a restaurateur, right? Entrepreneur. Has his own brand of vodka. He's a co-owner of Prime Energy. Like, there's everything for him to be involved with to really say, okay, well, he's got a lot going for him. And to use him in the match, this is basically all viral. Okay, unlike last year when at SummerSlam, Logan Paul against The Miz, and they had the match and Logan Paul was able to go ahead and get the camera phone up to do another jump off the top of the post into the announcer's table. Same thing here, but KSI was the one holding the camera. But then instead, the switcheroo, which was nice, and KSI takes the hit. He took the bump. Good. That was all fine and good. But just know that there were going to be things like this where WrestleMania has to have that celebrity viral status. But the thing is, they're not necessarily taking a whole lot of celebrities on board. They did. Kevin Hart with the introduction like they did before. And Snoop Dogg co-hosting with The Miz. They did the celebrity part, but not so much. And then Bad Bunny doing Spanish commentary. They added that part. That's going to be crucial to any WrestleMania event. It's just, they're going by the formula. And WrestleMania has always been this way. But the set looked fantastic. The setup looked good. Tonight's card was a little bit inferior to what's going to look like tomorrow. That's for sure. But I can't knock them for what they did. I mean, for what they're going to have the set up for tomorrow. And what they'll have on the card for tomorrow. That's okay. But Logan Paul, again, he, as always, continues to impress. He does not have bad matches. He comes in here, he rocks it, crowds into it. They do the zip line thing, the Shawn Michaels have a feel to it, and he is entertaining the crowd as best he can. But everybody was there for Seth Rollins, and what WrestleMania did, which I know some people are really happy about, is that we are getting proper finishes to feuds, plus we're getting the endings that many fans want, even though they might be a little bit predictable. But the unpredictability would come in the storylines. Because in the storylines themselves, like especially with Logan Paul, you didn't think that Seth Rollins could be the underdog in the match. You could have perceived that going in. Because of how hot Logan Paul is coming into the whole play. Same thing goes to the Usos, but I mean, with Kevin and Sami, it was like there was that feel-good story. We want to see that culminate. We want to see that moment happen, on which they paid off. Rhea Ripley taking the belt off of Charlotte Flair. These were stories that people wanted to have. This is what's going to make people happy. You're going to finally get this part and you're going to say, okay, this is something we wanted to have happen. Perfect. The crowd going home happy. And they're getting things that they want. Like, if you're talking about satiating the audience, which is where, if anybody thinks that Vince is still in charge, you're wrong. The creative is not. Okay, it is Triple H's vision on the main roster, number one. But then number two, you have the storylines and the creative going through a long run. Because remember, we're talking about here almost 11 months now with the Sami Zayn storyline with Kevin Owens and everything going on with that, and the way they culminated it all tonight with the Usos, right? Them losing the belts after a 662-day reign. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So then you have, after Logan Paul, Seth Rollins wins in very good fashion. Crowd was all into it. Loved the finish for this because people were really happy. This is what they wanted more than anything. They got the finish they wanted. He wins. Everybody goes home happy. Good stuff. Then we move along to Trish, Lita, Becky Lynch over Damage Control. This match didn't matter much to me at all. You know, don't get me wrong. People were happy to go and see this, and you know, you get to see all these folks in here. But like I said, if there is more to the story about Damage Control being fodder here, and not taking much time to go and have the match just go and culminate and be done with, right? Look at the timing of what they had tonight. You're looking at the fact that that match got 14 minutes. The Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match got 8 minutes. There were just things that they had here where this didn't matter much. But like the timing of most of the matches were pretty appropriate. They were good. 16 minutes for Seth and Logan, right? So I didn't care about the match with the women. The 6-woman tag team match, this is fine for everybody to have their, you know, nostalgic run with Trish and Lita back out there again with Becky. That's nice to see, okay. But as far as I'm concerned, Damage Control are a non-factor to me. And I feel like Bayley now, at this point of the run, and no matter what, I mean, people are going to probably disagree with me anyway, but I feel like Bayley is being anchored right now with this. It's time to split that group up. Now, some people might think it's not the way, because I don't know if Io Sky and Dakota Kai have really benefited from Bayley having them as hench people. I don't think it's worked. It was a nice idea. We brought them back. Great. But has it really panned out? You know, we're not haven't gone a full year with it yet, but I feel like right now, 9 months in, I'm not feeling it. Bayley's the only one that gets heat. And even then, it's like she's still stuck with these two other girls, and there's not much that can be done. It's like, okay, what are you going to do next? It's unfortunate, but there's nothing else that can be done right now. It's just a matter of, okay, we'd like to see something more come out of this, but we're not. So, you gave a reason for all these girls to have a match on this card. That's great, but like still, I'm still thinking of the fact that I don't get anything from this match at all. After this, and it was really, the way they built the card out, it's off and on. Because I know that the card tomorrow is much more built out to be something much more interesting. Only got 6 matches tomorrow so far on the card. And, I mean, you got a lot of good matches in there. Like, don't get me wrong. Of the matches that I cared about, I think that's the other thing, too, is that we had a little something for everybody tonight. If I had to tell you what I cared about, it would have been Seth and Logan, Ray and Dominik, Rhea and Charlotte, and Owens and Zayn against the Usos. That's it. 4 matches that really mattered to me tonight. And that's where they wanted to go with that. Now, Rey Mysterio and Dominik Mysterio, that lived up, and I think we can continue that feud for a while, honestly. Because when you get right now, I mean, Rey Mysterio and Edge can still probably kind of team up, and they can do things where now Rey Mysterio was removed from the storyline for a while, and now he's back into it. I don't know what his role is going to be going forward, if he's going to be still, because now Rey Mysterio's in this, and he's definitely now feuding with his son. They're not going to just blow this off in a month. Like, there's going to be something else that happens, and Dominik will get his heat back, most likely on Raw. And Judgment Day will help him with that. Because remember, he didn't have Rhea at ringside, and even if he did have, you know, I mean, Judgment Day and the LWO are now going to have to be a feud. That's what it looks like it's going to be, right? And so what you have now, you have Ray's wife and daughter out there. Leah's back out there, and Ray's wife, Snoop Dogg, coming out to drive Ray with a lowrider, and the whole setup of that. That was cool. The LWO setup. Listen, I mean, they're taking credence. Well, I'm not supposed to feel bad about, restoring the LWO. It was a gimmick to be a gimmick that Eddie Guerrero created. That was cool, and some people really take a liking to it because, I think the legacy of how people want to just, relish in the idea of the Latino World Order lasted longer than the actual faction did. Okay, because did the faction even last like a year? It was never considered that big a deal, especially when it comes to Eric Bischoff, because he didn't put any big onus to it, right? Who was in that group? Was it Psychosis, who included Guerrero, Conan, Rey Mysterio, and Eddie, right? Was that pretty much the Latino World Order, I guess, right? I forget. But hey, if it's a good merchandise sell to get that back out there again, go right ahead. I don't know if I want to go and see Legado del Fantasma get relabeled Latino World Order, but I don't know. I guess if they want to do it, it doesn't matter to them. But anyway, Ray and Dominik have a great match. In terms of the fight, the feud, the hatred for Dominik, and Michael Cole selling it every week like he does on SmackDown, and selling it even more here. And Rey Mysterio getting to whip his boy, and all the moves going on, 619s and all this and that. It was, people were really into that match. And Ray, super over, as much as he has been in a while for a match like this. And it turned out well. And the story they told leading up to it, when they put the package out there, using some of the footage they've used from other Rey Mysterio documentaries to tell the story about Dominik and this young, innocent kid turning into this, aloof, delinquent type of guy, right? But the Dominik Mysterio character, by the way, bringing him out there in handcuffs and doing the whole cops thing, love all that. Like the pageantry leading up to that match was great. The lead up to that match was great. You really didn't have to do much more except let those guys just take a couple of shots at each other, because I think that's all this crowd really needed. But they gave him 15 minutes for this match. Rey Mysterio wins. Dominik's not going to let up. Daddy got the win and also got the Hall of Fame nomination, or the Hall of Fame induction. So you'll have that to deal with. There's much more coming up. There's much more to it. And so, while the Bloodline has a multi-tiered storyline, so does right here with the Judgment Day. Because the Judgment Day is equally feuding, eventually with the OC when they come back, feuding with Edge in the same time, Rey Mysterio at the same time, and now Legado del Fantasma is getting added on to the mix at the same time. So a lot of players being involved in the one arc of a storyline that has been multi-tiered with several. It's like its own little soap opera. Like you could run almost like a 30-minute soap opera, and you would have 2 or 3 different stories going on at the same time, intertwined with characters, similar characters. That's great storytelling. Now, is it going to win, Academy Awards? Is it going to be like something that you'll see on Netflix? No. But for an ongoing series like this is pretty good. It's decent quality storytelling. Especially with the Mysterio match. The Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match, they gave a good thing to. And, of course, Charlotte had to go and drag out a long fight with Rhea to get to it, but well-deserved. Rhea Ripley finally here. She doesn't get the Rollins title first. Or didn't she? I don't remember. But she gets a SmackDown Women's title. After Charlotte comes back and gets it again, and in a strong fashion. Charlotte Flair is one of those stars that, like very rarely is anybody going to really get the upper hand on her, but they did it here. But it had to be where Charlotte had to run like a long match, and that was a grueling match for them to be able to make it. Great. They did that and successfully did so. So Rhea Ripley, now new SmackDown Women's Champion. Does she split now Raw and SmackDown time? Probably because of the whole Judgment Day thing. But I guess we're going to see more of that. We're going to see certain stars are going to have to be seen on both brands because of the factions they're involved with, which is what they've been doing anyway with the Bloodline and the other point, right? Meanwhile, you have certain stars that are still dedicated to one roster together. I don't know what that's going to mean when it comes towards the draft at some point. But here's the thing, too. If you want to have matches that are just kind of, that don't really have anything of a major stipulation or importance to have, that 4-way tag team match, you could have probably put it later in the night to where you could have had, Austin Theory, John Cena. You could probably have followed along with Seth Rollins and Logan Paul after that. And they just put that match in the middle just as a break. Because I'll tell you what was a break. Pat McAfee and The Miz. Jesus. But they did this because they wanted to have a little bit of... It was another viral moment they wanted to have at WrestleMania. So this is for the sports crowd. Pat McAfee, he gets to go and talk about on the show. He has to go on here. They get the involvement with George Kittle, the San Francisco 49ers. Right? Just like they did a while back when they did with Rob Gronkowski, right? And I forget who it was that accompanied him. I forget who it was that he was helping at the WrestleMania in Levi Stadium. That's what it was. But yeah, so they did that. If you can get a little bit of a cameo appearance by an athlete, someone like a level of George Kittle, sure, do it. And Pat McAfee going out there working with him. So you get the sports types. They're going to talk about it. ESPN and Fox Sports. They'll all talk about that tomorrow. And then for the internet crowd, you got the Logan Paul KSI stuff. So you're going to get the buzz. Like, it's the multi-tiered marketing machine that the WWE is doing like all the time. You don't have to like it. But this is how WWE is able to get the most every drop they can out of WrestleMania. That was the idea. Even the fact that they even said that during the singles match, in the SmackDown Women's match, you had Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. In the competing in the match, women, Jessica Carr was the referee. Women, Samantha Durden, I think it was her name. She's announcing. Oh, look, we are women's empowerment. Yay. Right? They got a whole thing right there. So they're checking all the boxes. They're showing how much of a multi-tiered, multinational, international brand that just cares about so much. They got the charity in. They get, the empowerment in. All this good, happy kumbaya, right? Great for them. And on the match of the night, 24 minutes for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So it was Steen Jericho, right? El Generico and Kevin Steen. Ring of Honor stars. More than a decade in the company. Starting from NXT up to the top. Started from the NXT to now we're in, right? Now these guys put together, after all the times we've seen them in matches where they were against each other. Or the falling out and they get back together and all this, that, right? But you have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn much more in a very serious role. Based on an incredible storyline with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Or Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Which, by far, is one of the best storylines they've had in WWE in, 10 years? Maybe more. Dare I say, I enjoy this storyline better than I did a lot of the Attitude Era stuff. I'm going to just tell you that. Look, the Attitude Era deserved, they needed to do something different anyway. The Attitude Era was a different time. So if everybody wants to go and compare now and then, you can't. Too long ago and too many different varying factors to all of it. But for what it's worth, this is WWE in the storytelling age in a way that they won't give any credit to anybody do, but I still feel like it's a Rob Fee thing. And they brought in, honestly, since Rob Fee's come in, I don't know if if it's his direct involvement or if it's because of the people that are being allowed to be creatively scripting and putting out good ideas and putting some serious storylines together with real emotion. The damn crowd was crying. There were people in the crowd crying after they saw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even Kevin Owens, emotional at the end of the night. Closing out the first night of WrestleMania, this match with a lot of emotion, a lot of heart, and they're finishing up a chapter, an incredible chapter in this story that has been incredible. The storytelling is as good as you would see on Netflix or on Hulu or whatever. Like it's there. And you're seeing it like a Broadway play in real life, in live action. And then you add this here. This is the phase of WWE that really, people want to give Triple H all the credit. No. Triple H doesn't. Triple H is benefiting from a couple of different things. So with all the things that are going on with WrestleMania, and you see the CAA Nick Khan influence throughout tonight's WrestleMania, the one last year, right? When they're going out there and they're going to SoFi Stadium, look, you tell me that's not a Nick Khan move? I mean, Vince McMahon is probably all in on it because he's agreeing with a lot of what Nick Khan does, right? Like there's that part that I guarantee you, if Vince McMahon was controlling the pencil, you know, what Nick Khan and what this marketing team does now, the people that Nick Khan brought on board, that stuff was going to happen with the Bad Bunny, the Snoop Dogg, Lil Uzi Vert coming out with the Usos, all that was all going to be a part of WrestleMania. Pretty sure of that. Pretty positive. The thing with the conductor, yeah, all of that. But now, the difference in this all, and this is where the big stars, let me put it to you like this. Let's just point this out. Because this is going to now finally put me in my place with how things are going on. How many part-timers do we have on this show tonight for the first night? We saw people, except for John Cena and Logan Paul, Trish and Lita, but we were seeing them, for weeks leading up to it. Maybe Pat McAfee, but let me tell you, of the matches, the title matches, the people who won, and of the major main event storylines, they're part of storylines we're seeing every week on TV. With Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Usos, with Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, with Rey and Dominik. That was stuff that was going on constantly on television. So when you're watching the lead up to WrestleMania on Raw or SmackDown, you're getting this stuff all the time. You're not just waiting to get it once in a while. No part-timers. We're getting less of the part-timers. That's good. That's really good. That's what we wanted for a long time. Now it's culminating now. But it's not just because of Triple H, okay? Triple H probably has the control of saying, hey, these are the people he's standing behind. Sure. But, Rhea Ripley, that's a Triple H person. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Triple H. Austin Theory, I think it took them a while to but that was more of a Vince thing, but they're following along. They're following through on it. And so when you think about it, they have set up things to where what WWE is doing right now is they're not going the route of having to bring back all the nostalgia and legacy to come back. And anybody that's coming back to work, McAfee can work, Trish, Lita, Logan Paul can work, Cena can work. You're not hurting because of that, right? It's not hurting at all. And you're getting some stars, in their spots. Now, are you getting any stars over? Building new stars? Not tonight. Well, Austin Theory, yes. Rhea Ripley, you basically made her a made person now. She's gotten the treatment that Rhea Ripley's got, or that Bianca Belair's got the last couple of years. She's now a main eventer. Rhea Ripley now, but it's not even, I'll say this too, it's not even the matter that she's a champion. Like, Rhea Ripley's already a bigger deal because of the Judgment Day, because of her role with Dominik, and just what they've done with her in general. Like, Rhea Ripley, this version of her is excellent. She is so over now, and the crowd's so happy to see her win that belt, man. Let me tell you what. That's great. So Kevin and Sami finishing up. Great match. Storytelling in the ring, the leading up to it. I mean, just the points where you just saw the emotion. And the Usos playing their part perfect. Like Jey Uso confronting Sami Zayn, not just hitting him with the super kicks, but constantly the badgering, the bullying. Going back to that storyline, like it just kept hitting you over the head that the storyline was going to be completely intertwined and embedded within the match itself. It was going to be part of the storytelling. You don't have the announcers having to explain it as much as you have the wrestlers interpolating it in the ring. That is great wrestling. That's the WWE wrestling. That's the kind of wrestling they can do. It doesn't matter how good the matches are supposed to be. Like, we're not supposed to get like spot fests and things like that. No. Leave that to Kenny Omega and El Hijo de Vikingo or El Hijo de Vikingo against whoever, right? Against Commander, whatever. Because with WWE right now, this is what they're supposed to be doing. They need to be experts, the masters at storytelling. It's finally being allowed now. It's finally being allowed, and I'm really happy that it is going that way. Perfect. Okay, we're already gone 30 minutes to talk about that, and trust me, there's a lot more we could talk about, but we're going to hold it right there. If I got any other thoughts, I'll tell you about it on Wednesday, after WrestleMania, and after Dynamite. But either which way, let's go ahead and quickly just gloss over the other pay-per-views that happened over the weekend leading up to WrestleMania. All right. I'll kind of go backwards, right? Because let me also going to talk about NXT Stand and Deliver, which, you know, they did a good job with the show. I hated some of the outcomes of the finishes. I'm just going to say it like that. So you had 7 matches in the card. I'm going to just say this. So you had a pre-show match. Yeah, the pre-show match was the winners gaining control of Chase University. And Chase University was saved because he defeated Schism. Now, into the matches tonight, you had the ladder match for the NXT Women's Championship, and we already know that Roxanne Perez is beginning very injured for the most part, and weak in the storyline. Gigi Dolan was a favorite because of the fact that, you know, the whole deal with JC Jane, and, you know, the fact that we're tag team champions, and, like, you know, Gigi Dolan is really standing out. I'm so glad. I'm so happy for her. I think Gigi Dolan's going to get moved up pretty soon. And Tiffany Stratton wasn't a very integral role, but it's good to see her in this match. Zoe Stark in the match. Lyria Valkyria. But Indy Hartwell, with everything that's gone on with that storyline with her and Dexter Lumis, which the wedding was nice, but everything else I've seen about it is like, whatever. The whole way storyline with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, and that's good for this show, right? It's an NXT storyline. I don't need to see Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis ever get moved up together as index on the main roster. I don't think it would work. It's a campy storyline. We know that. But Roxanne Perez was a non-factor in the match, and Indy Hartwell getting the help of Dexter Lumis to win in a feel-good moment about how many years she's been down there at NXT. Now she wins this. But my question is, does anybody think she's ever going to move forward back up to that main roster for anything? No. Look what Candice LeRae's done. She's been a non-factor anyway. So Indy Hartwell now finally getting the just due and getting this NXT Women's title, good for her. I don't know if it matters much. You know, felt kind of weak. But that's the storyline they chose to go with. I mean, and people were happy about it. So, I mean, who am I to say anything? The Triple Threat Tag Team match. Gallus retains over the Creed brothers and the family. Okay. Wasn't much of this. The NXT North American title match. Wesley against Axiom, Dragon Lee, Ilya Dragunov, JD McDonough. So Dragon Lee was out there. Great. But my problem is, it's all of it. North American title. I mean, where's all the big guys that they have? Like, I mean, WWE does need to be known for having big guys. They don't have anybody that's really a big super heavyweight on that roster. For whatever with NXT, I don't know if William Regal was about this or who else it was that went with all these World of Sport type guys, all these European NXT UK folks with Ilya Dragunov and JD McDonough. Like, I know there's an affinity for those stars, but they're small. And I'm trying to think of what they're going to be looked as and how they're going to be perceived when they move to that main roster. Now, of course, they're not going to get buried like they would be under Vince. But Triple H, I mean, are these stars going to be convincing when you put them up against major stars? I don't know. I don't see it. These guys are small. JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov, I've seen them a million times. Listen, they're great in the ring. Don't get me wrong, but like, believability. We can't just suspend disbelief in wrestling like we have for this right here for these smaller guys in the roster. Being tough guys. It's not believable. And I don't think you can really pass that test on the main roster with these stars. I don't see it. The same thing goes with when I look at Ludwig Kaiser, right? And I look at the Imperium folks without Gunther. I mean, what formidability is that group in the three-person faction that they are? Pete Dunne is in the same call, but like Pete Dunne is like the scrappy deal of the group when it comes to the Brawling Brutes, but he's like the little scrappy guy next to Ridge Holland and Sheamus that are bigger heavyweights. It's creating believability. Like, you can only have so many small guys that can go onto this roster, that main roster, and really be something significant. Plus, the European stuff doesn't always cut. Like, we know that. How are JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov going to really stand above the pack when they're going to be around the likes of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre or Gunther? There isn't. There's really no room for that. Because there's only so many people they have of a certain stereotype that they can put on the main roster to make it work. Doesn't matter how good their ability is. It's nothing about that they don't have the ability. Of course they do. Of course they do. But what are you going to do here? That's the whole point. So anyway, Wesley holds on to this belt again. I'm like, oh, wow, man. But that's a telling sign that Wesley continues to retain that belt. Well, I don't know. I don't get what advantage he is right there anyway. I mean, this is also the fact of, unfortunately, how the Radicals broke off. Even Trey Miguel right now as X Division champion, it's there, but, you know, they don't really have much going on with the X Division anyway, where, like, the whole Impact Wrestling roster, you know, they do a lot of turnaround things and do things like that. We'll talk about that with Multiverse in a minute. So, 18-minute unsanctioned match with Johnny Gargano over Grayson Waller. Now, here's a problem. I don't care how over Johnny Gargano is in NXT or in the Indies. Why is he being Grayson Waller? You've been building Grayson Waller since the start of NXT, the Rainbow version, and they kept him strong since. And so just like that, the feud with Shawn Michaels is over? And Grayson Waller just gets humbled? What the fuck? Why did Johnny Gargano get this? I mean, and honestly, Johnny Gargano gets these matches all the time. I mean, how many times did we see him against Adam Cole, or against Tommaso Ciampa? Is that what Gargano's good for? Is these type matches? The unsanctioned extreme matches and shit with the ladders and tables and shit? Because now we get to the point where, Johnny Gargano is, he is mute when he goes to that main roster. Doesn't matter who he's teamed up with. You can bring with Dexter Lumis, you can bring all Candice LeRae, you can bring all whoever. The NXT crowd is not rolling into that main roster. It's just not resonating. And so I look Johnny Gargano. Why is he beating Grayson Waller? Like, if you're giving Grayson Waller all this time and feature feuds, all this, like, it wasn't that before this he was going after Braun Breaker for the NXT title, right? Does Grayson Waller just need to continue to lose in these big matches when it happens? I don't understand that, but I don't get that decision. I didn't get the Indy Hartwell decision for her to win the title. I understand why, but I don't get why she's the one. I don't get why Wesley retained. I don't get why Johnny Gargano beat Johnny Grayson Wallace. I just don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of the game, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Somebody explain it to me. New NXT Women's Tag Team Champions with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn over Valhalla and Kiana James. Done. Okay. Didn't matter to me one way or the other. I don't have a dog in the fight. And then Carmelo Hayes against Braun Breaker. Look, okay, Braun Breaker's held on to that belt for a long time. So I don't have an issue with the fact that they're going to go and drop the belt to somebody else. And in this show, okay, I get what they're doing. That's fine. And so as the champions are put and set, Braun Breaker held the belt almost 1 year exactly. Because he won the belt. What was it? And that's also going not counting before when he won the belt at Worlds Collide. And then he unified with Tyler Bate, the NXT United King Championship, right? And so Braun Breaker, 363 days, long run. I was starting to get tired of him seeing the belt. And Braun Breaker's a one-dimensional wrestler. They're making a mistake with Braun Breaker. They're making a mistake with him. I don't think we need to see Braun Breaker be Scott Steiner of 1990. Because that's what he is right now. Braun Breaker is Scott Steiner, the old Scott Steiner, in the old college gear with the flashy neon. But he's also toned down. He still does all the moves that Scott Steiner does, right? But all I see right now I feel like we need to see this guy turn heel and become Big Papa Pump Jr. Like, I just waiting for him to go and just turn the hair blonde and just turn him into that. And have Scott Steiner accompany him out to the ring. No, but we're not going to get that. But Braun Breaker is one-dimensional. Period. And then you put Carmelo Hayes here to win as Stand Deliver with Trick Williams winning, helping him win. See a weekend that Carmelo Hayes can absolutely positively not win without outside interference. These are the decisions I don't like. Now, this is the part where I'm wondering if this is where Vince and Bruce Pritchard still have a role in NXT because of the decisions they made. Because the wins were not clean, right? I mean, with Greasewall, he gets dropped. With Indy Hartwell, she gets help. With Carmelo Hayes, he gets help. I just don't care for that. I don't like it. The matches were fine, but like I said, some of the outcomes were just, I didn't care for them. Didn't like it much at all. Okay, finally, let's quickly go and just run through Supercard of Honor. El Higo, the Vikingo, over Commander for the AAA Mega Championship. That match was a stud. And El Higo, the Vikingo, is just getting great matches over and over. There's a reason why that guy is champion right now, and he is running the spot. Embassy is a very strong 6-man tag team with the championships right now with Brian Cage, Khan, and Toa Leona. And while they put Air Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik out there, it was a pretty quick match nevertheless. I'm not big about Athena holding on to this women's world title, but like, who else do they have in that roster right now to contend with? You get some other stars they can start bringing over. And I think with Ring of Honor itself, they're establishing the fact that it is some of these established veteran stars that would have normally been working over here anyway, with the Lucha Brothers, with Wheeler Yuta, with Eddie Kingston, with Claudio Castagnoli, with like folks like Brian Cage, Samoa Joe, and Mark Briscoe, and right, the Kingdom. Like, you're getting the feel of stars that you would normally see in Ring of Honor anyway. And it's starting to feel like the establishment where Tony Khan is starting to identify now. You know, this is one of the first shows where you definitely did not have anything of Dynamite or AEW related at all. This is the first pay-per-view that Ring of Honor really felt like its own individual brand separate of everything else. Because right now, Ring of Honor, to me, if you're identifying what it looks like now in 2023, a year after the sale, it stands for all these Ring of Honor or all these big indie stars with some significant names to them. The veterans getting on here. They're not necessarily about younger stars on this roster. Some, but you mean not necessarily brand new from right out of the dojo or anything like that. No. Out of, the Dojo of Honor. No, they're not getting that. It definitely filtered out whoever else was there that they didn't want to have anymore. But when you want to have the stars from Japan or Mexico come in, Ring of Honor is the brand. Not so much AEW, except for the traditional exhibition match. But I think Tony Khan's trying to identify where Ring of Honor is the place where you have the relationship that was before with New Japan. The relationship that was before with AAA. Or with Joshi Pro Wrestling, right? So that is the international brand, where the younger stars against the very established types that came from WWE for the most part, you're getting that now on AEW. I think they definitely now have two established, identified rosters. You're starting to see a little bit more of that now. It's much more defined. And Ring of Honor now has their own show, so they got it figured out. So Athena and Yuka Sakazaki, this wasn't as a dark elevation match I've seen way too many times. But now Athena actually holds this belt fine. We need a new opponent for her because I think she just can't hold that belt and just not have really good competition. So they got to give her somebody else to go work off of. Samoa Joe over Mark Briscoe for the World Television title. It's a really bittersweet, unfortunate day that Mark Briscoe had to go ahead and hold on to the World Tag Team titles one more time, but to relinquish them because they were going to have new champions. Hiroshi Tanahashi over Daniel Garcia. I don't think it was that long of a match that they put together. Lucha Brothers and Top Flight, Kingdom, Aussie Open, La Facción Ingradable. That's a hell of a match they had tonight. Or they had the other night. And Lucha Brothers are now Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Great. Pretty strong champions on the legacy of the Briscoe brothers and FTR, who in the Khan era, the Tony Khan era, have been champions on the tag team side. Katsuyori Shibata, Wheeler Yuta. By the way, I do like the fact that Nigel McGuinness is back over on commentary. Him and Caprice Como with Riccaboni. That's a good mix. And then Claudio Castagnoli over Eddie Kingston for the Ring of Honor World title. And Eddie Kingston having a feud with Claudio, that feels good. I like that. And I guess so Blackpool Combat Club will be mixing between both brands. But Claudio holding onto the belt, continuing on, I get that part. Multiverse United. So I saw the Trent McGill, as I said, another exhibition title. By the way, the Impact New Japan show was an exhibition. And that's really what it is. Like, there wasn't much newsworthy of these matches, just good matches in there. We had the tag team match with Alex Coughlin, Callahan, Fred Rosser, PC over Eddie Edwards, Joe Henry and Team Filthy. Yeah, okay. Wasn't very necessarily overly into that. Jeff Cobb and Moose with nothing on the line. And Moose, I feel like, is just being kind of wasted along right now. I don't understand what Moose's role is. I mean, him with Joe Henry for a while, and then this, I don't get that part. Deonna Purrazzo winning in the 4-way match for contender as world champion. Mickie James at Rebellion. Deonna Purrazzo gets another crack at Mickie James. I'd love to see how that goes right there. Bullet Club retain the Impact World Tag Team titles. Kushida over Lio Rush. That looked great. Kenta over Minoru Suzuki. And I'll tell you, they wanted to give a clinic, and they did with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Mike Bayley. And Mike Bayley holding his own with the best, man. Good stuff. Mike Bayley is a treat to watch. And a lot of credit to Scott D'Amore for feeling like this guy from Canada was the guy he was following along and checking his career and putting in this spot. Really good stuff. And unfortunately, the one thing that really sucks out of all this is the fact that, you know, this pay-per-view did not get an Impact World title match because of the fact that Josh Alexander is hurt and he had to go ahead and relinquish the belt. It's so unfortunate for him to have that happen, but, you know, not much can be done now about what happened. It's unfortunate. And so we know that Josh Alexander on television is going to relinquish the world title on Impact Wrestling. And it's the fact of the matter is that he suffered a torn triceps, and that's going to put him out of action for a considerable amount of time. And so for Impact Rebellion, at the moment, what we're looking at for that pay-per-view coming up, which is April 16th, by the way, so far for the card, Kushida and Steve Maclin will take on each other for the vacant Impact World title. And now, with Deonna Purrazzo's win, she will be in a 3-way match now and entered into the 3-way match with Mickie James and Jordynne Grace for the world title, in Knockouts world title. Great. And then they're setting up for Rebellion, Team Bully against Team Dreamer, and a 10-man hardcore war. That's what's set up so far. And they'll get more of that coming up anyway. And that's the show, man. We are all set. We come back tomorrow. Day 2 of WrestleMania 39. And on the card, setting up, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez against Natalya and Shotzi, against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, against Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Fatal 4-way tag team match. Gunther defending against Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, triple threat for the Intercontinental title. Edge against the Demon Finn Balor in a Hell in a Cell match. Do we know if it's going to be the Demon? I didn't know that. Brock Lesnar versus Omos. I'm really focusing on that match. I want to see if Omos, if they can put something good with him out there. Because I know the crowd is expecting this match to fail. I hope it doesn't. Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the World Women's title. And Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I can see that match going an hour or 45 minutes, something like that. That's the show for tonight. Coming back in about 24 hours from tonight. So enjoy day 2 of WrestleMania 39 and come back for another Wrestling Considerable podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. Find past episodes anytime at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or all major podcast distributors. Follow at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.